Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I'm Shekhar Gupta and my guest today, he can be the dread of many corporates, but he can also be the envy of many. Ashok Chawla, Chairman of Competition Commission of India. You know why I said envy of many? Because you hit the $1.5 billion turnover mark faster than any corporate in India's history has done.
Thank you.
In a manner of speaking, because the 6,500 crore fine on cement companies, cement cartel as you call it, DLF, NAC, what do you call, aluminium phosphide makers.
That's right.
This is big hitting. And all of that in just about a year.
That's right. Well, the Competition Commission, as you know, is a young body, 3 years old. We've sort of got more active in the recent past. And a lot of things which were started earlier are now coming to fruition. So that's what you're seeing.
That's very
but
funny.
what you're not seeing is many of the cases get closed also.
Right.
Because we have to have a fair amount of evidence
Right.
to be able to come to a decision where we can penalize the corporates who should be behaving in a different manner from what they are behaving.
But it's also a bit ironical because we are sitting in sort of at the heart of India's center of governance and power, and these areas all over the world love their acronyms. So CCI until now used to be Cement Corporation of India,
Or the Cricket Club of India.
or the Cricket Club of India, or in old days Controller of Capital Issues.
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
But now CCI is a body that represents actually the spirit of reform, because regulation is about free markets and reform, isn't it? Regulation preventing antitrust moves and preventing misuse of dominant position.
Yeah, as the economy moves more and more to the market mode, which we've been moving for the last 20 years, and this is the way the more mature, developed industrial economies have gone. So the system needs a market regulator,
Right.
which is distinct from and separate from the sectoral regulators,
Right.
who look at specific areas of activity, be it telecom or airports, economic regulation, or insurance regulation, securities market regulation. So that's the way it goes.
But frankly, do you get the sense also that nobody quite figured that CCI would become such a big hitter or such a monster, but a virtuous monster, if I may say?
Well, a new body, people are not very familiar with the contours of the law, and they're also not quite aware of how it's going to work and how it's going to shape. The law that Parliament passed initially in 2002, but then it hit a legal challenge and then was amended in 2007. The law is very robust. The law is strong. The law can be aggressive, and it has to be used with the right kind of.
Misused?
Well, it depends, of course, on the commission and the authority which adjudicates the law. That applies to any kind of regulation or piece of legislation.
Because many corporates had thought at that point that this law was hasty or draconian, and there was opposition.
That's true. When the law was being considered in the year 2001, 2002, there was a debate on whether the country is really ready for a competition law so soon after the process of deregulation, just 10, 11 years
Right.
later. It so happened that it got postponed through the perverse route of a legal challenge, and it came about much later. Today, I think the system is ready and appreciates the need for such a legislation. Everybody would certainly not be happy with what happens to them, because these are things where everybody says it's a good thing, not in my backyard.
Right.
So that's the spirit which
But,
informs people.
But when you deal with Indian corporates, how long is it still taking them time to figure out that a competition regulator is very serious business? It's not MRTPC anymore.
I think the informed corporates and businesses are aware of it. The general stakeholders at large, which includes the people in the community, may not be fully aware, and therefore lots of things which we get are relating to contractual disputes, are relating to pure consumer issues,
Right.
which is
For which
not
they should
really
go to consumer court.
there are other forums for it, and we are not really meant for that. Though incidentally, the focus gets on to the consumer, but not directly.
So we'll talk about the 4 major cases. I know you've done many, but 4 major cases in a bit. But are you getting the sense now that Indian corporates have begun to provide for this in their planning, in their strategizing? Do they have somebody in their groups, leadership groups now trying to make sure it is not anti-competition, antitrust, will not be seen as misuse? Because you are levying serious fines. I mean, these are withering fines. And these are not traffic offences.
Well, we have in the Act a provision for advocacy,
Right.
which is somewhat unusual and unique. So we keep talking to chambers of commerce, to industries, to other stakeholders and passing the message. But my sense is that by and large they are still not fully prepared to handle these kind of new regulations and the process of compliance and risk management that goes with it.
Right.
And to internalize it in their normal governance process.
And they all think nobody will be ultimately made to pay these fines. It will be set aside, lessened.
Possible, and they always, everybody feels that, look, it's not all that easy for us to come under the scanner. If it does, maybe we'll put up a strong defense. Otherwise, there are higher courts for appeals and so on, which are there.
Because people also have the experience of SEBI, in fact, I remember in the very same lawn, recording a walk the talk with Mr. Damodaran, the then SEBI chairman, and asking him the same question. It's one thing for you to levy serious punishments, but everybody gets away later in appeal.
Well, that's...
I mean, you have your equivalent of the securities appellate
that's
tribunal.
true. That's how it should be. And the law will always provide for higher forums for appeal. So one is not sure of how and where it will settle. But that is also the way jurisprudence will build up. I mean, we don't have much jurisprudence in India in the area of competition law.
Do you have the NDTV Profit app? All the markets, all the news and your own homemade, ready-made portfolio available there for you.
We will right now answer what you should sell, what you should buy when markets are down.
Download at ndtvprofit.com/apps. Get the best app from the channel you trust.